I don't know, but like
Tina?
consider the explosive
Well,
radius
I'm just saying, your
of that
body
head.
would be crushed if you're trampled, but it'd be still in one piece.
Well, not necessarily.
Probably.
Not necessarily.
Maybe.
Maybe
You know what?
partially.
We're gonna play a fun game. Brittany,
Oh, okay.
which one's higher? Which
or
one's lower?
Dunny's higher, Tino's lower.
That's fair.
Dunny it is.
Dunny
There was
had
more.
more
There was
pieces.
more.
There was more or less of him.
Yeah,
There was less of
Oh.
Dunny.
that's even worse. I got. You know what? I got his sash. I'll take it.
Yes, this is true. Okay.
Am, are
That
you
morbid
ready to
reminder.
make Brandon rage on Sunday?
So, who's ready to explain
Definitely
the awkward
excited.
relationship dynamics of Navani and Dalinar to
Nope,
good old
nope,
Jake once he
nope.
makes it?
Oh,
No, not I.
pick me. Oh, pick me.
I don't
I'm
know
gonna
if
make
that's a good idea
it
either.
super more awkward than it is.
All right.
Trace, don't trust him. Don't trust a hoe. Never trust a hoe.
So, what did happen last week, folks? What do we think?
I got shot in the knee.
He got shot in the knee. Then he died.
Dunny
Dunny did
died.
die.
Like
He
30
died
minutes
a
after.
hero.
You want to hear what I have in my notes, Trace? It's
Yeah.
Yes.
separated partially, but I only have 3 things written down that say Dunny, and it says Dunny is too pure for this world. Dunny saves Luis. Trace killed Dunny.
So awesome.
That's about the
He
progression.
very easily could have just let me die.
They're so close to each other in my notes. It happened so quickly.
Those little bullet points.
Yeah.
What do you
Alrighty.
want, Monster?
Oh,
Wait.
actually, I had something that I was wondering if I could do. Trace,
Maybe.
does this prison camp have a place where somebody could inquire a tattoo, or the supplies to create one?
You could. They would be expensive. And also, most of the time, slaves aren't allowed to have tattoos, as one of the common methods of actually, what do you say, noting that an individual is no longer a slave after their slavery is actually to have the brands on their forehead tattooed over.
Oh, see, I wasn't gonna put it on my forehead.
Yeah, no, I know, but
it's just how it's viewed
in general. Yeah, that's.
See, I might know this, but I might be like, this is too good of a purpose because I'm not very wise.
You can really try. Roll an investigation has to be super high.
Okay.
You might have a cousin or two.
Investigation. All right, I'm not bad at
On the
this.
other hand,
There, Archie,
there
I
is an
swear to God.
that is really good.
The one time when my rolls don't fuck me.
You find a place that does tattoos. They're pretty expensive.
How expensive? And have we been paid again?
Let's finish up the recap, then we'll talk more. There's a really important thing that nobody's mentioned that has happened.
We saw the
all
Hold,
of
please.
our
Saw
friends
epilogue
were
number
really sad and
one.
depressy.
That's the one.
What happened?
We saw the epilogue.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
You saw the disbarment of the Oath Pact. You saw the allyship / partnership of Sadius and Dalinar, and most importantly, your Sprin seemed to be sleep.
Yeah, I mean this with all due respect, Trace, and I really mean with all due respect. I had that morphine hit me like a fucking truck in the middle of that story. Can you summarize it for me?
The Oath Pact breaking up?
The
prologue.
Whole cutscene. Just give me a synopsis.
Yeah, so Kolek went and after the final desolation met up with Jezrien, the essentially king of the heralds. He was like, hey, yo, 9 of us survived, but to Linalot, he got sent back to damnation. And hey, there's all those, painful hooks and fire and all that shit, and it's torture for thousands of years. Maybe, and hear me out, what if we decided not to go back at the end of this desolation, fuck off, and leave town there alone? So they left their honor blades in a big ass ring and promptly decided to fuck off, telling the world that they had won, and that was the last desolation.
Okay.
Shortly thereafter, Dalinar thought that Sadeas was going to be like, hey, yo, this dude's trying to assassinate the king. And instead he was like, hey, yo, this dude's fucking fine. He didn't try to assassinate the king. Afterwards, this was the catalyst for them to be like, hey, yo, we should do bridge runs together, try to actually win the war.
Okay. Cool. I
Cool.
appreciate that. Because, yeah, you can, like, if you go back and watch Brandon's stream,
Mhm.
you can tell when it hits me because I just
Yeah,
start,
you're just like,
I was like
You were
vibing.
zooted.
Hey, Jade.
I was
Straight
zooted.
zooted.
And then
Hey.
all of a sudden, I was like, I even messaged Brandon in his chat, was like, bro, I'm not even gonna lie, this hit me so hard. I've missed like 80% of this story.
And I said, "Don't worry, I fell asleep. It's fine."
Oh, also, you
I'm
guys
just joking.
saw a reoccurring character.
We saw good old fucking looking through the notes. Fucking what's his name? I said fluff.
He is
oh,
Wit,
Wit.
otherwise
No.
known as.
Hoyt.
Fucking Hoyt.
As, hang
Hoyt.
on. Hoyt.
I keep wanting to say Floyd.
stupid.
Hoyt.
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 Floyd.
Hey, Jade. What'd you say?
Yeah.
What did you
This
say
is
to?
cursed. That is cursed.
You said Daddy Kaladin was
I-
cursed.
I said nothing. I don't know what you're talking about.
He seemed
I
to
wrote.
take that
I
personal.
also wrote in my notes. Raphael apologizes. It's very hard for them.
my
Kaladin sama.
Kaladin. So sorry. Alrighty.
Call it like it is, you know?
Yeah.
Yikes! Truth.
No, and he agreed with you.
that's
so
also
Yeah.
the status
That's
truth.
psychologically healthy.
Fair enough. Can't argue with that at
That's
all.
me. I'm your go-to guy when you want to feel happy. That's me. Definitely.
Alrighty.
I'll remember
For
that.
sure.
I'll remember.
Don't remember that. The group remembered this.
With that said, we're going to be moving through at a breakneck pace. So if I have moments of silence, it's because I'm skipping over filler. We're gonna be moving. Alrighty, y'all are in the
Because
midst
for some
of.
reason,
Hmm?
sorry, for some reason my computer kind of goes sometimes. So when that happens, I'll just give you guys a message to repeat it if it does.
You're good. Yeah, just let me know. Alrighty. So you guys are popped into another vision with good old Mr. Dalinar as he is recanting while Highstrom's passing by. He is in the room with Navani, who is recording his vision. As he looks down, he sees he is in the body of what appears to be a soldier, fairly large, and he looks over at a very regal-looking individual. Let's see here. Very ornamental robes. He looks out from a massive balcony of stone into the evening sky. The setting sun is staining the air a dirty, sultry red. Our own nature destroys us, the regal man said in his soft voice, though his face was angry. Alakavish was a surge binder. He should have known better, and yet the Nahil bond gave him no more wisdom than an ordinary man. Alas, not all Spren are as discerning as Honor Spren. I agree, Dalinar said. The other man looked relieved. I was worried that you would find my claims too forward. Your own surge binders were... But no, we should not look backwards. You feel Dalinar's thoughts searching. What in the hell is a surge binder? He was wondering. What do you think should be done with these surge binders? Dalinar asks. I don't know if we could force them to do anything. Their power, well, Alakavish proves that the allure of Surgebinders have for the common people. If only there were a way to encourage them. They need to be better, old friend. We all do. The responsibility of what we've been given, whether it be the crown or the Nehilband, needs to make us better. I could read the disagreement on your face. It's all right, Carm. I realize that my thoughts on this subject are unconventional. Perhaps the rest of you are right. Perhaps our abilities are proof of divine election. But if this is true, should we not be more wary of how we act? See Dalinar frown. He feels a strange familiarity to the regal man. Something about his words. He looks down at the landscape below. Thousands upon thousands of corpses confronted him. Dalinar gasped as dead filled the streets of the city outside. A city that Dalinar vaguely recognized. Kholinar, his homeland. He stood with the regal man on top of a low tower, 3 stories high, in a keep of some kind constructed of stone. It seemed to sit where the palace currently lay. The city was unmistakable, with its peaked stone formations rising like enormous fins into the air, the wind blades, as they were called. But they were less weathered than he was accustomed to. The city around him was very different, built of blocky stone structures, many of which had been knocked down. The destruction spread far, lining the sides of these primitive streets. Had they been hit by an earthquake? No, those corpses had fallen in battle. Dalinar could smell the stench of blood, viscera, and smoke, and shuddered at the familiarity. Blood of my fathers. As he looks out and sees these monumentous, strange, mountainous creatures. As he realizes they're very similar to what he saw before. Thunderclasts, they were called. It's ripped straight from the stone. What happened here? It's terrible. I ask myself the same thing. How could we let this occur? The desolations are well named. I've heard initial counts. 11 years of war and 9 of 10 people I once ruled are dead. Do we even have kingdoms to lead any longer? Sur is gone, I'm sure of it. Tarma, Elise, they likely won't survive. Too many dead, too many fallen. Dalinar had never heard of these places before. The others want to blame Alakavish. If true, he had brought us to war before the desolation, we might not have been so broken. But he was a symptom of a greater disease. When the heralds next return, what will they find? People who have forgotten them yet again? A world torn by war and squabbling? If we continue here as we have, then we perhaps deserve to lose. There is honor in loss, you hear Dalinar say, after carefully seeming to reach into his past. There is honor in loss. The word seemed so familiar to him. And then he realized that he was pulling from a passage in the Way of Kings. If that loss brings learning, using my own sayings against me, huh, Carm? You feel Dalinar's breath catch in his throat. As the man before him, he realized, is Noadon, the great king. Seems as if he was real, or had been real at some point. This man was younger than Dalinar had imagined, but that humble yet regal bearing, it was right. I'm thinking of giving up my throne. No. See Dalinar step forward. You mustn't. I cannot lead them. Not if this is what my leadership brings them. Noadon. You see the face twist as he looks at Dalinar. What? For a second he considered as if he was wrong about the man's identity, but no. Perhaps Noadon was more of a title than anything else. It's nothing. You cannot give up your throne. The people need a leader. They have leaders. They are princes, kings, soulcasters, surgebinders. We never lack men and women who wish to lead. True, but we do lack the ones who are good at it. See Noadon lean over the railing. As you see a deep grief pass his face. I know that feeling. The uncertainty, the shame, the confusion. You can read me too well, old friend. I know these emotions because I felt them. I never assumed that you would feel them too. Then I correct myself. Perhaps you don't know me well enough. What should I do? You're asking me? You're my advisor, aren't you? Well, I would just like some advice. You cannot give up your throne. And what should I do with it? I haven't faith in my people any longer, old friend. Put two men together and they'll find something to argue about. Gather them into groups, and one group will find a reason to oppress or attack the other. Now this, how do I protect them? How do I stop it from happening again? You dictate a book. A grand book to give to the people, hope. To explain your philosophy on leadership, how lives should be lived. A book. Me write a book. Why not? Because it's fantastically stupid of an idea. The world as we know it is quite nearly destroyed. Barely a family exists that hasn't lost half its members. Our best men ate our corpses on that field, and we haven't the food to last 1 or 2 more months. And I spend my time writing a book? Who would scribe for me? All of my wordsmen have been slaughtered. You're the only man of letters I know of who's still alive. A man of letters. And that thought kind of catches you. I could write it then. With one arm? Have you learned to write with your left hand then? Dalinar, as he looks down in the vision, had both of his arms, although apparently, to Noadon, he was missing his right. No, we need to rebuild. I just wish there was a way to convince the kings, the ones who are still alive, not to seek advantage over one another. So this is my decision. Step down or do what is needed. This isn't time for writing. It's a time for action. And then, unfortunately, it's a time for the sword. I apologize, Karm. I should not dismiss your suggestion right after asking for them. I'm on edge. I imagine that we all are. At times it seems to me to be human in a want which I cannot have. For some, this power. For me, I wish peace. You see Noadon turn and walk back to his chambers as Dalinar kind of speaks to himself silently. He goes on to become one of the most influential writers Roshar has ever known. He seems expectant. I know you're there. What does he decide? Did he unite them as he wanted? No voice came. You're right about at least one thing, Noadon. To be human is to want that which we cannot have. Roll an insight check, everybody.
Insighto.
Insighto. Okay. Toomey, Garrick, and Lowell. And Mr. Barracks. You feel. Have you still not gotten that fucking. Install the plugin,
download
motherfucker.
it. Take 30
Jesus.
seconds.
It's
Beyond 20.
We will wait.
Beyond 20.
I have Beyond 20.
it's
Update
not
it.
working right. So re-download it.
Something's fucked. Is it
I don't know.
enabled?
I don't know.
Shame.
I don't know is the first thing he says.
I have
Bro-
it. Me and
Motherfucker,
she's
take a candy
about to
bar and figure it
download
out.
now.
The second I stopped
We've been
playing
at this
D&D,
for 4 years almost.
second it's worked for 4 years.
I know. Oh God.
Yeah,
In any case, as
just
he's
like work.
fixing
I
his
stop.
shit,
I stop working the second I'm done.
you all feel that phrase resonating deep within him, that we all want what we cannot have. And as he opens up his eyes, the first thing he sees is the
His sister.
widow
No,
of his
Brittany.
brother, Navani. Well, that was meaningless. I learned nothing. I'm doing a poor job of... Delana. You see her still scribbling with a reed at her paper. The last thing you said before the vision ended, what was it? The last... Yes, the very last words you spoke. I was quoting the man I was speaking with. To be human is to want that which we cannot have. Why? You see him be promptly ignored by her as
Aha.
she continues writing. Look at how easy that was.
How long did that take?
Now we're like, it's just like work. So I'm in the middle of work right now. It's fine.
Yeah, it just magically works after you download it.
Oh.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Jesus. You see Navani writing furiously, and once done, she slips off the high-legged chair, hurrying over to the bookshelf. Do you have a copy of... Yes, I thought you might. These are Jasna's books, aren't they? Yes. She wanted them cared for until she returned. You see her pull a volume off of the shelf. She set the volume on the writing desk and leafed through the pages. Dalinar joined her, though of course he couldn't sense what was on the page. What does it matter? Here, you see her point to a section. When you go into these visions of yours, you know what you speak? Gibberish. Yes, my sons have told me. Anak maha kafif tel machan chabin yah. Sound familiar? Dalinar shakes his head. Sounded a lot like what Father was saying. You hear Renarin saying from the background. When he was in the vision. Not a lot like Renarin. It is exactly the same phrase. The last thing you spoke before coming out of your trance. I wrote down everything as best I could that you blabbed today. For what purpose? Because I thought it might be helpful. As it turns out, it was. The same phrase is in Atlantics, almost exactly. What? How? It's a line from a song. A chant by the Vinril, an order of artists that lived on the slopes of the Silent Mount in Jakaved. Year after year, century after century, they've sung the same words, songs they claim were written in the dawn chant by the heralds. They have words to those songs written in ancient script, but the meanings have been lost. They're just sounds. Some scholars believe that this script, all the songs themselves, may indeed be in the dawn chant. And you just spoke a line from one of them. Beyond that, if the phrase you gave me is correct, you translated it. It could prove the Vendril hypothesis. One sentence isn't much, but it could give us a key to translating the entire script. It's been itching me for years now. But listening to these visions, I thought what you were saying had too much order to be gibberish. Dalinar, you might have just cracked the most perplexing and ancient mysteries of all time. What are you saying? What I'm saying is that we have your proof. But, I mean, you could have heard that one phrase and extrapolated an entire language from it. This is not gibberish, but it is no language that people can now speak. I suspect it is what it seems, the dawn chant. So unless you could think of another way that your father learned to speak a dead language, Adolin, these visions are most certainly real. You see the room fall silent. Now, Dalinar, I want you to describe the visions as accurately as possible. I need the exact words you spoke. If you recall them, every bit we gather can help my scholars sort through this. As they go about describing, eventually Adolin and Renarin leave as the high storm has completely passed. And that phrase just keeps on echoing again and again and again in Dalinar's head. We all want what we cannot have. And in a moment, before he even realizes it, Navani has finished, and she leans up and promptly kisses him on the lips. And you feel it's over. Dalinar went right on into that pit, and he is not getting out of it. And y'all wake up. We all want what we cannot have.
Oh my god, I'm awake.
Welcome.
Hey.
How you doing?
Guess who has bridge duty?
Not me.
Bridge 5?
Bridge
Oh,
3.
hey,
Well,
Luis.
who's gonna die trying to save me this time?
Luis.
Just Luis, because he got
It's-
someone killed.
It's crazy, bro. Like, in the night, your neighbor's spheres all went out, and, like, your knee is healed. It's crazy.
It's so crazy, dude.
It's crazy.
That's crazy.
It's insane. I don't know.
Some armor of like the plot relevant stuff or something.
Yeah, sure. In any case, yes, you are fully healed. We are up and at it on a bridge run.
You're up and at it.
I'm still at 5 health. Should I be healed by now?
Higher or lower?
Higher.
Does your natural immunity keep you going?
How many spheres do you currently have?
I have 36 currently.
Yep.
Speaking of
You're
which,
healed.
I'd like to go
Thank you.
spend this.
Wait,
I'd
did we
like
get more
to.
spheres?
I think he just hasn't spent them, and he
I
also
have not
won a
spent
bet.
And I did win a bet. That's
Yeah, he
correct.
did.
Oh wait,
Oh,
no,
okay,
I did
well-
this the wrong way.
How much is this tattoo gonna cost me? Because I got 20.
You've only got 20.
Yeah, I
Roll-
spent them on steel and rope.
Roll a persuasion check. You're in a seedy ass back alley place, and there's a Herdasian who, she's a Herdasian woman, so she's a tough bitch.
Brother, I've got 47 of
Let's
them. I
fucking
am
go.
swimming. in 'em.
Let's fucking go. Yeah, baby.
As you present your meager spheres, all of which are done, by the way, she looks over
Useless.
at you. How big of a thing do you want there, Gancho?
Okay, so I want I just want
He's one of
a little
them.
thing that just says his name right here.
What, Ganjo?
Fucking A.
Donnie.
Y'all are simple, aren't you?
Donnie. I want
Bloody
Johnny's
bullies.
head. Actually, you know what? Can I get it tattooed on my butt cheek?
Dunny,
Oh my god.
Yeah.
It's a good
roll
spot
another
for it.
persuasion check.
Oh
Oh,
my.
man, she's making. Here's the real question: does he have to roll a persuasion check if he adds more spheres?
He doesn't have any
Oh.
more spheres.
There's a
Okay,
swift
Yeah,
kick
I'm
to
not
the
touching
ball
your ass
sack.
with a 10-foot pole. Give me your arm and shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
You will get Dunny's name tattooed right on your shoulder.
I will carry him always, as he carried me.
It's even in red. What do you look at that?
Have the
It's the mom tattoo, but it just says Dunny.
Danny.
It's in cursive and everything.
Oh no.
Oh, Jesus. All right. Bridge run. Athletics checks.
Bridge run.
Athletics. Oh, in here, at least I got my natural 1 out of the way.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Athletics, here
Hey,
we
good job,
come.
boy.
Athletic again.
Kind of athletic,
I
yeah.
passed 1. Ah, this is the first bridge run that I've not gotten hit.
He's getting better. He's learning. He's beginning to believe.
It's like, man, getting these arrows in the knee suck.
What if he just didn't anymore?
What if just nah?
What if I just, you know what? God, dodge.
Oh.
He's dodging.
What a crazy
look at that.
concept.
Was athletics for? Was that
You-
for everyone?
It's
Yep,
always
you had a
gotta
bridge run.
outdo me. Always gotta outdo
Come on,
me.
babe. You got this.
Okay, you
You
guys
got
kind
this,
of froze
Raph.
up a little bit, and all I heard was roll, and I was like,
Roll.
Roll
things.
athletics.
Roll.
Athleticism.
if you insist.
I hope. I'm hoping this is the first time we all. Yo,
Hey, look at that.
yo, we all passed the bridge run for the first time ever.
We all passed.
If only it was last week.
Marshall,
I know. If
shut
only
your
Donnie
mouth.
didn't have to die.
Shut your mouth. Shut it. Shh.
You know, to be fair, thematically, it makes sense that we're doing better because Donnie's dead. I'll be honest with you. It just we picked our act up because we saw one man go down.
Every time you talk, I get nervous.
I'm just saying thematically, it makes sense.
As you all
We all
make the
passed this one.
approach, you are rushing forward. Drop. Push. You guys are in sync. This is the Pelinar squad. You're doing solid. As you push into place and are starting to turn away, you hear a as Maps, our big bearded friend, falls
What the
over.
fuck?
An arrow protruding directly from the middle of his chest,
No.
around where you assume the lung would be.
I'm gonna
No.
try to fucking grab him before he gets trampled this time, like Donnie.
As you and Kaladin grab and pull Maps to the side, you can already hear his breath gurgling with blood as it fills.
I would
You see Kaladin working his best
eat me.
to try
20,
to save him.
23 natural 20 medicine. Come on, son, let it do something, please. At least put him at ease a little quicker. If he's suffering.
You
Push it through.
Oh, Jesus.
you pull
That-
the
my
arrow
God.
miraculously out just a little bit so that it
The
kind of
adrenaline's
covers
pumping.
the section of his lung up so that he could actually breathe out words.
He can get last words
And
out at least.
as a second, you see his eyes almost glaze over and something strange behind them as you hear him almost shouting, "All the world was shattered. The rocks trembled, their steps, and the stones reached towards the heaven. We die. We die." As you see him spasm one last time, and that strange light fades from his eyes. As Kaladin, hey, welcome.
Great
Oh
timing.
my God.
Fucking fantastic timing. Holy shit.
As Kaladin leans back, and throws out what appears to be the very, very bloody bandages that he was trying to stop the bleeding with.
I'd like to same thing I did with Donnie. Grab just a shred of cloth off of our boy here, and same thing. I'll tell as if it's his last dying breath. I'll tell him that I'll try to find a way to carry him to freedom. I will try to find a way to carry you as well.
As you really, Garrick, you're the only one close enough to hear this. As Kaladin is sat there, just he puts his face basically down into his arm for a moment. You hear him muttering, "It's taking them one by one, opening them up and bleeding them out. We're nothing more than pouches to carry blood. Then we die, rain it down on the stones like a high storm's flood. Only I remain, always. It's all just me that remains. It's a curse. It has to be a curse."
I grab him, just say, "Get a hold of yourself," and I'm gonna yank him, and we're gonna get the fuck out of the way. Make sure we're not getting fucking in anyone's way.
All right, you are out of the way. You see the battle raging across the chasm as eventually, as he always does, Kaladin makes his way over. Seems to kind of escape into the tactics. In the back, you hear Scar asking, "What was that he said at the end? The rocks trembling?" "It's nothing. Just the dying man's delirium. Happens to men sometimes. More often lately, it seems." You see Teft with a hand to his arm where he kind of hastily wrapped a bandage around an arrow wound. With your natural 20, Garrick, you know he's not going to be carrying a bridge anytime soon.
Yikes. Bridge force kind of falling apart, gang.
Once again, you kind of hear a mumbling from Kaladin. Should have been faster. And then you hear him say something about Lirin. This happens sometimes, son. See him shake his head and focus back on the battle again. You see despair kind of cross his face and then disappear as he sees what appears to be Dalinar Kholin and his son Adolin jumping into the fray with the Parshendi. Looks like this battle is very clearly going the Parshendi's way with the two armies, Sadeas and Kholin, together. You have to learn when to care. I should have saved him. I should have saved him. I should have saved him. Maps, Dunny, Amarak, Goshal, Dalit, Nalan, Tien, Sen. Some of you recognize that one of those last two names.
Sin.
No.
Tien was Kaladin's younger brother. And Sin was the figure who you witnessed that battle Kaladin had right at the beginning. You, to me, will hear Syl's soft voice. Kaladin, be strong. If I were strong, they would have lived. The other bridgemen still need you. You promised them, Kaladin. You gave your oath. And that word seems to carry a lot of meaning. You see Kaladin look up at the anxious faces of many of the other bridgemen. You were wrong, Father. You hear him kind of mutter under his breath. He said I'd learn to deal with the deaths, and yet here I am, years later, same problem. As he takes a sip from the wineskin that Lopin carried. You guys will see Lopin look around and then pat his belt line, where underneath there appears to be kind of a bulging bit of spheres, which he deposits in the wine litter, or the wineskin litter, rather. You guys once again have spheres. Did he have any trouble? Now, gone, Chow. Easy as tripping a hole in eater. I heard that. And the rope? I dropped the whole coil right over the side, but didn't tie the end up or anything, just like you said. Good. A rope dangling from a bridge would have just been too obvious. You guys have been noticing something interesting. There's been a distinct lack of gas lately.
Yeah. Welcome.
In any case, as you guys look out at the battle, you are noticing that the Parshendi have almost been pushed all the way back to the edge, and the Alethi seem to have a distinct advantage. And then you hear two horn blasts from a plateau off to the left-hand side as what appears to be a second Parshendi army comes crashing into it. This is the first time in your many bridge runs that you've seen this happen. It appears that the Alethi have started bringing two armies, so have the Parshendi. The battle turns to something of a stalemate as neither side appears to gain too much purchase until eventually the Alethi push the last of the Parshendi off. Roll a perception check, everybody. Very nice. To me,
Because I'm nosy.
Yes.
Yeah.
To me, as you look across the battlefield, on the other side, leading that second Parshendi army, there is actually what appears to be a shard bearer, exceedingly tall, maybe 7 feet, with a blade that's about as long as they are tall. You see a brief exchange between Adolin and the Parshendi shard bearer, but with the battle going so poorly for the Parshendi at this point, the shard bearer is forced to be pushed off in a way. With that, the battle comes to a generalized end. If you,
Guard bearers don't up,
Hmm?
right? On their side, at least.
what, sorry?
Oh, I was saying, I don't think that we ever saw a shard bearer on their side.
Nope.
Right?
This
Huh.
is your first time actually seeing one in person.
Not in the dreams.
Is it wild for a shard bearer to be a Parshendi, or is that not a crazy thing?
It was generally known that there were some amongst the Parshendi, but they just weren't often seen out and about. So it's a rare sight, to be sure. It's unusual. Some kingdoms only have one, like Herdaz. And, some kingdoms, like your own, have none. So,
Yeah.
bit odd. In any case, as you will see Kaladin kind of picking around the battlefield, yes, you'll see Teft and some of the others talking as they are kind of making this motion where they're kind of tapping their wrist bones together.
What's that mean?
I don't know.
What's that for?
I don't know.
Can I go ask?
You go ask.
Yeah.
That was
What does
rhetorical.
this mean? What is
As
this
they go
for?
over, you see Teft. Oh, it's well, we're not allowed to salute him, but it's my old squad's salute. So some of the boys wanted one.
To salute who? Who are they
Hmm?
saluting? Who are they saluting?
Kaladin.
I'll join them in saluting.
They're just basically getting down what the motion is for the salute. In any case, as everybody's packed in, makes it back to the camp. You guys are kind of talking as you're going. As you come to a stop and are having kind of a water break, just stood around and talking, a couple things hit you. Number one, you're looking at the other bridge crews who, just like you many months ago, are all collapsed on the ground, breathing hard after every single stop. Whereas you guys are all sat around talking, drinking water. The second thing that hits you. As the soldiers go over the bridge, Amaram's soldiers, they look down at you all, and there seems to be a general sourness as they look. Before, they just ignored you. Now there's some sort of contemptedness as they do. And this is even seen in the light eyes, not just the dark-eyed soldiers. You'll see Moash kind of come up and just generally talk to everybody. Why did they do that? As you see one of the passing soldiers toss an overripe pilevine fruit at the bridgeman. You see him, Moash, kind of wiping off the stringy red fruit from his face as he sighs and falls back into his stance. When I fought in Amaram's army, I dreamed about joining the troops in the Shattered Plains. Everyone knew that when all the soldiers left, Lethkar was left with just the dregs. We imagined the real soldiers off fighting in a glorious war to bring retribution to those who killed our king. Those soldiers would treat fellows with fairness. The discipline would be firm, each one would be an expert with the spear, and they would not break ranks on the battlefield. You hear Teft snort quietly from the side. Why do they treat us so, Moash? Because they know they should be better than they are. Because they see discipline in bridgemen that would embarrass them. Rather than bettering themselves, they take the easier road and jeer at us. Dalinar Khalin doesn't act like that. You hear Scar kind of saying off to the side. His men march in straight ranks. There's order in the camp if they're on duty. They don't leave their coats unbuttoned or lounge about. Will I ever stop hearing about Dalinar storming Kholin? It's easy to ignore Blackened Heart if you have that dressed in a pressed uniform with a reputation for honesty. See him shake his head as the last of the soldiers cross, and the bridge gets picked up. As you come back to the yard, you'll see Kaladin kind of popping out in front of the whole group. You're dismissed for evening activities. We have chasm duty early tomorrow. Morning bridge practice will have to be moved to late afternoon. You see all the bridgemen nod, and then Moash raises a hand. And then he makes the salute. And you see the rest of the bridgemen who are practicing with Teft follow suit. I see a Garrick. Everybody else joining in? Yeah, look at that.
Righto.
Righto. As you all go about your general activities, those of you who remain behind will hear Kaladin say, "What was that?" And the men wanted a salute. Can't use regular military salute, not with the spearmen already thinking we're too big-headed, so I taught them my old squad salute. When? Just earlier, while you were seeing to the wounded. You see a rare smile on Kaladin's face as he kind of shakes his head. Poor sun fools. I know that look, lad. Why you always have to try to help everyone. Bah, I can't even protect Bridge 4. Here, let me look at that arm of yours. It's not that bad. You see Kaladin grab his arm anyway, peeling away the blood-crusted bandage. The cut was long and shallow. We need antiseptic on this. I should probably sew you up too. It's not that bad. Still, you see Kaladin walk into the barracks, waving for Teft to follow. You'll see him. Okay, now this is actually an interesting part. Who decides to stick around and watch this encounter, and who does not?
Stick around.
Yeah, so
I'll
of course,
I'll let my role speak for what I'm gonna go do. Take a wild guess.
Wow.
Getting really good at these drawings, man.
Yeah, shit, that's actually like comprehensible. Anybody around watching Garrick?
I'm gonna watch Garrick. This is
Alrighty.
interesting.
Lol, you see actually what looks like a fairly vivid illustration. It's kind of miraculous of what appears to be the top of a tower of some kind as a hulking figure in what appears to be shard plate has 9 shadows streaming off behind them.
Dope.
What is this, Garrick? This is very creative.
It's something I must always remember.
It's interesting. As he speaks, the words seem to like
Damn it!
catch in his throat a bit, but he gets them out.
Oh,
You all right there, mate?
oh!
Like on
I
you.
thought I was gonna get cucked. I'm so used to being like, yeah, no. I'm gonna say it's like, God damn it! I don't know the limitations of what I can't say it entirely.
You kind of realize that is like right on the edge.
It's basically why I was like, I'm trying to skirt the edge on it. That's why I hesitated at
He's
first too, to be fair.
He's
I'm edging. I'm
He's
edging.
edging.
Oh God, Garrick's
Jesus.
edging, guys. That's the thing for the night.
Put in the
That's funny.
notes.
All
going
right.
in the notes.
All right. Yeah, you know, I set myself up for it. I set myself up for it.
To me,
You know how I take notes, Marshall.
Yep. Yep.
To me, you nosy fuck. As you peer around the corner to where Kaladin, Lopin, and Taft are all, you'll see Kaladin kind of washing out the wound and just taking a look at it as Lopin walks up with the bag of spheres and hands them to Kaladin. So, lad, how do you feel? Any odd experiences lately? You see Kaladin frown and almost look upset. Stormlight Taft, that's the 5th time in 2 days that you've asked me that. What are you getting at? Nothing. It is something. What are you digging for, Taft? Gancho. There you go. As you see him spill out the spheres onto his hand, kind of showing him all that they brought in, and then putting them back in the bag. As Kaladin glanced up, he accepts the pack, and he pulls the drawstrings open. Will want to. To me, you see a very quick flash of something as Teft appears to be trying to punch Kaladin.
What?
All of a
Is he
sudden,
successful?
you see Kaladin seem to take a deep breath in, and then his hand moves up almost at a lightning pace to block it. As you look at him, you see some light return to Kaladin's eyes, and there almost seems to be this wavering blue luminescent smoke that is constantly escaping from his skin.
I'm so glad you're so nosy sometimes.
Hey, you're welcome, bitches.
You see Teft completely freeze.
Respect.
What are you doing? You see Teft step back, smile. Galek, that's some grip you got. Why would you try to strike me? I wanted to see something. You're holding that pouch of spheres Lopin gave you, you see, and your own pouch with what we've gathered lately. More Stormlight than you've probably ever carried, at least recently. What does that have to do with anything? Gancho, you're glowing. What in the... As you see Kaladin look down at his skin and notice the luminescent smoke coming off it. Shaking,
Did
you
you
see
absorb the
Kaladin.
spheres? Did he absorb the spheres?
That bag seems to be a lot less vibrant than it was before. As you see Kaladin go to put the medical pack on the broad rim of the water barrel, feels a weird coldness on his skin. As he raises the other hand, looks at, there's wisps streaming off of him. What did you do to me? Answer me. You see Teft just smiling as Kaladin goes up and grabs the front of Teft's shirt. I didn't do anything, lad. You've been doing this for a while now. Caught you feeding off the Stormlight while you were sick. You see Kaladin release Teft, fishing for the spheres. Yanks one out, and it is completely done. Now that's something. You see Kaladin looking over at the pack, which you're just noticing he didn't actually get on the rim. And despite that, seems to be just stuck against the wall of it, that medical pack.
Like it's frozen stuck there?
Like, here's the wall, here's the pack, and it's just not moving from there.
Can I go poke it?
You walk up, the situation seems surprised at you as you poke it, and it's not moving.
How did you do that?
He's a wizard, Harry.
He's a hairy wizard.
I have no idea. As you see him look closer, it almost looks as if it was kind of steaming out some light from the corners, just like Kaladin does. And as the light fades, you'll see that the medical pack will kind of peel off and then fall down completely. You see him kind of looking around frantically and see if anybody else is watching, which is where you would have been caught if you weren't going to go poke it. You can almost see the gears turning in Kaladin's head as he's like, Stormfather, what? How? Then you see the leisurely and slightly abashed figure of Syl seeming to walk on the wall away from him, almost whistling. You see him narrow his eyes. She did it. What did she do to me? You see him stumble away from you all following Syl as she kind of continues to run away a bit. Syl!
Through the
Eventually.
Naruto.
Eventually, you'll see, as I assume you follow Miss Nosy.
Huh.
Yeah. You turn the corner and you see him talking to Syl as she appears right by him. Yes? You see Syl look at him. You're glowing. What have you done to me? Syl. I don't know, Kaladin. I can only faintly remember things I don't know so well. Your world, interacting with men. But you did do something. We have done something. It wasn't just me, it wasn't you, but together. I see your shrug. That isn't very helpful. I know, I'm sorry. How do I get rid of it? Why do you want to get rid of it? Well, because. You see Syl's face sour slightly as she kind of raised an eyebrow. You're not a wind sprint, are you? No. What are you then? I don't know. I bind things. Bind Spren. They're holding that rock in place. Maybe. Or they're attracted to what you've done by affixing that stone there. That's not how it works, is it? Do rot spren cause sickness, or are they attracted to it? Do wind spren cause the wind? Rain spren cause the rains? Flame spren cause fires? You see Kaladin hesitate. This is pointless. I need to find out a way to get rid of this light and not study it. And why must we get rid of it, Kaladin? You've heard stories, men who walked on walls, men who were bound to the storms. Windrunners. Why would you want to be rid of something like this? I'm doing what the Radiants did. That's what I just said. I've been wondering if I'm bad luck or a curse or I've run afoul of some old magic. Maybe this explains it. The Almighty cursed the lost Radiants for betraying mankind. What if I'm cursed too because of what I'm doing? Kaladin, you are not cursed. You just said you don't know what's happening. Can you say with all certainty that what I'm doing might not have drawn the bad luck down upon me? Do you know enough to deny it completely, Syl? The thing is, it isn't natural. The Radiants betrayed mankind, their powers left them, and they were cursed. Everyone knows the legends. Whatever we've done, whatever's happening to me, I've somehow brought it upon myself. Their same curse. That's why everyone around me dies when I try to help them. And do you think I'm a curse? Well, you said you're part of it, and you see Syl stride forward towards him, the tiny, irate little woman. So you think I've caused all this? Your failure, your deaths? Yusikala did not respond. Syl seems wounded by this and takes the form of a leaf before zipping away. As Kaladin scratches the back of his head, shakes it, and then goes for a walk. Rest of y'all, what are you doing?
I'm gonna walk up to my boy, Lol.
Here we go.
Hey, Goncho, look at what I got. He's
Oh,
I
still
mean-
one of our fallen comrades. See, he saved me, and now I'll always carry him because he carried me.
I see the sentiment behind that, but the execution, not so great.
I think it's bloody brilliant. It is.
Well, that's all that matters then. I'll pat him on the back.
Should pat him on the arm.
And then I'm gonna kind of whisper to him, "If you fall, I'll get your name too."
I'll hold you to that, even in my death. And then I'll go practice the kata.
All right.
And then
Uh,
as he walks away, what do you think, Rogo? Isn't this sweet?
Mm,
Rogo, buddy,
mm,
are you still feeling glum?
Mr. Lull, I'm presuming you do that someplace very quiet and
Yes.
out of the
please.
way and discreet.
Yes, very much so.
Where no soldier could possibly see you trying to train yourself to be a better spearman.
Absolutely.
Oh,
As
good.
far away from them as possible.
Oh, that's great.
I'll join him. That way he has advantage on trying to find
He's
a
just
place.
in the corner of the bunk, just shadow boxing.
All right. Everybody take a maximum strength score. Again,
+1 or
yep,
+2.
+1. If
Yes.
you are at 20, by any chance, do not go past.
I'm at
I
20
am
now.
exactly at 20. I am strong.
Yay.
I've made it to 15.
Lord. Alrighty. Cool. As you all go about your night, Arcana check. Everybody.
Everybody in this
Oh my
camp getting
goodness.
arcana. Oh my
Jesus,
god, I'm
Garrick.
so goddamn good at these.
Marshall, go fuck yourself, because I'm still living your curse of
I
I
am
get
like-
the nat ones and you get
I-
the nat 20s.
All right.
I have a large portion of our natural 20s.
You know
I
what?
really should have started color coding this to see who got which natural 20s.
I'm gonna be gone next week, but the week after that, you and I'm gonna play from your house and you come play from
Nah,
mine.
I'm good. I like my comfy spot. You won't like my chair. It's only good for my butt.
Garrick, once again, you get a special vision. And in
Special
fact, connect
vision.
to Mr. Kaladin. With that said, we are going to expedite it somewhat because we do not have a massive amount of time.
Be right back.
Garrick, as you go into
Cat
the vision,
butt.
you will
cat,
see the scene pretty much immediately following the departure of Mr. Kaladin from the rest of the group that Sin was in at the original area in Amaram's army. As he approaches the Shard Bearer. Yeah, so you see him killing the light-eyed commander, and then the Shard Bearer comes up. Instead of running away like the rest of people, Kaladin and his squad goes charging. You'll see the Shard Bearer up on what appears to be a Rashadium, a very large horse that is capable of actually carrying a Shard Bearer in all their weight. And you'll be seeing the Shard Bearer taking big swaths, which are just killing men after men after men. As Kaladin's squad approaches, you'll see them descend on the horse first, attempting to knock the Shard Bearer off. And you'll see 3 of his men in a single strike have their eyes burnt out by that shard blade. Kaladin ducks under and appears to slam the back of the knee of the Shard Bearer, actually hard enough to make it buckle with the butt of his spear. As you'll see him almost get caught by the backswing, but another 2 of his squad mates shove him out of the way before being slaughtered. And with a final strike, the last of his squad are taken out. All that remains is Kaladin. You see the shard bearer look down, begin to go for his final strike, as Kaladin pulls the knife from the top of his spear, throws it at the one exposed area on the shard plates, right between the eye slits. Only about that thin
It was like a perfect fit.
as it pops right onto the figure's eyeball. And you see the shard bearer writhing in pain as Kaladin pulls up his sphere and shoves it through the other side of the eye slit, killing the shard bearer. 1 in a million shots saved his life and several of his men.
Wait, Kaladin killed a man through his eye slit?
You killed
Oh,
a
the
shard
shard
bearer.
bearer.
Killed shard bearer, yes.
Looks at Palanir.
As the blade mists and condenses on the ground, you just realize that this is the first Dark Eyes you know of in many, 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 many years who ended up actually defeating a shard bearer. That just doesn't happen for regular people.
He
But
defeated one and he's not one.
yeah,
Yep. That's the biggest part.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Dark Eyes too, which automatically, if you're a shard bearer and a Dark Eyes,
Pretty much guaranteed to lose.
You are immediately guaranteed a light eyes situation, essentially. I believe the blade actually naturally transitions your eyes to a lighter color.
Is that the glory Syl was talking to him about?
Hmm?
I don't know, I have that in my notes.
I think that makes sense, though.
Regardless, you'll see him not even look at the shards as he instead goes over and picks through the comrades that he has around, finding a few that haven't been completely severed, instead only missing the soles of, say, a right leg, an arm, both legs. Finds a few, and he even finds one that's completely untouched despite the battle. As they clasp him on the shoulder, they all seem to laugh as you look over at who the shard bearer was about to attack down at before Kaladin and his squad arrived. And you see a light-eyed man in full plate armor. Not shard plate, just regular. As he pulls off his helmet, you see the face of Amaram, the more minor High Lord of this section of the country. Direct commander. Well, rather, direct top chain of command for Kaladin's army. Kaladin just saved Amaram's life from a shard bearer and took it down. And with that, that section
here?
of the vision fades. On the other hand, the rest of you will see Kaladin going on a walk. First thing, you guys kind of fade in as he's walking through Sadius's war camp.
Man, I'm
just
glad
seeing-
I'm not seeing this.
Oh, you're seeing this. Everybody's seeing
Oh,
this.
great. I have to relive this fucking awful place.
Well, to be fair, you're still in the war camp. You're just at the edge of the war camp.
I don't care.
In any case, as you approach, hi Jake,
Hello.
welcome.
He does exist.
You're having a
Fun.
vision.
Well, occasionally.
Only on Thursdays.
You guys will see an interesting sight. There's a loud series of curses that interrupt Kaladin's kind of ponderances. As he spins around, a man bursts out of a handsome stone building across the street and shoved a half-naked woman out in front of him. The man had bright blue eyes and was in a forest green coat carried over one arm. He had red knots on his shoulder, a light-eyed officer, not very high-ranking, perhaps 7th Dan. The half-dressed woman fell onto the ground. She held loosely to the front of her dress to her chest. crying as her long black hair, down tied with 2 red ribbons, fell about her. The dress was that of a light-eyed woman, except both of the sleeves were short, as safe and exposed. This would be a courtesan. The officer continues to curse as he pulls on his coat. He didn't do up any of the buttons. Instead, he just stepped forward and kicked the whore in the belly. She gasped as pain spren pulled from the ground gathered around her. Nobody on the street even paused, though most did hurry on their way, heads down. You see Kaladin growl as he jumped onto the roadway, pushing his way past a group of soldiers. And then he stopped. 3 men in blue were stopped in front of the crowd, moving purposefully towards the fallen woman. The officer in green. Only one was light eyes, judging by the knots on his shoulders. Golden knots. High-ranking man indeed, 2nd or 3rd Dan. These obviously weren't from Sadius's army, not with those well-pressed blue coats. Definitely Colin. You see the man stepping forward, light eyes, has very blonde hair dotted with dark, about half throughout it. Many of you recognize these from the visions as Adolin Colin. You see Sadius's officer hesitate as the officer in blue rested his hand on the hilt of his sword. The other 2 were holding fine halberds that gleamed with half-moon heads. The group of soldiers in green moved out of the crowd and began surrounding those in blue, and the air grew tense. Kaladin realized that the street bustling moments ago was quickly emptying. He stood practically alone, the only man watching 3 men in blue, now surrounded by 7 in green. The woman was still on the ground, sniffling, as she huddled next to the blue-garbed officer. The man who kicked her, a thick brown-haired brute with a mop of uncombed hair, began to button up the right side of his coat. "You don't belong here, friends. Seems you wandered into the wrong war camp. We have legitimate business." You see him hold out his hand to the side, as if almost wishing to shake Sadius's officer's hand. "Come now. Whatever your problem is with this woman, I'm sure it could be resolved without anger or violence." You see Kaladin kind of move back to the overhang. "She's a whore." "I can see that." You see him keep his hand out, Adolin, as the green officer spits on it. "I see." You see him pull his hand back, and twisting lines of mist gather in the air, coalescing in his hands. He raised them to an offensive posture, and a massive sword appeared, barely an inch away from the officer in green's face. It dripped with water that condensed along its cold, glimmering length, curved to a point. Sadius's officer stumbled away and fell, his face pale. The soldiers in green scattered immediately. Officers cursed at them, as vile a curse as Kaladin had ever heard, but none went to help him. With a final glare, he scrambled up the steps and back into the building. The door slammed, leaving the roadway eerily silent. Kaladin was the only one in the streets besides the soldiers in blue and the fallen courtesan. You see Adolin give Kaladin a brief glance. Then he judges him not to be a threat, so he thrusts his blade into the stones, where this blade sinks easily, its hilt towards the sky. You see him hold out his hand to the woman. "What did you do to him, out of curiosity?" Hesitantly, you see her take his hand. "He refused to pay, claiming his reputation made it a pleasure for me. He kicked me the first time after I made a comment about his reputation. Apparently, it wasn't what he was known for. I suggest you insist on being paid first from now on. We'll escort you to the border. I'll advise against returning to Sadius's war camp anytime soon." You see the woman nod. "Thank you, Bright Lord. Perhaps I could interest you? There would be no charge." You see Adolin raise an eyebrow. "Tempting, but my father would kill me. He has this thing about the old ways." "A pity." As you see them walk on their way. Kaladin kind of shakes his head at this whole situation. continues to wander. And as he walked, he kind of went to the further edges of the war camp where they were less occupied. As there's a small fire and what appears to be a strange sound being echoed out. As Kaladin grew closer, he smelled smoke. There was a light burning there, a tiny campfire. As Kaladin walked out to the edge of this particular peninsula, a chasm of growing cracks appeared until it plunged down into darkness. At the very tip of the peninsula, surrounded on 3 sides by chasm, Kaladin found a man sitting on a boulder, wearing a light-eyed black uniform. A small fire of rockbud shell burned around in front of him. The man's hair was short and black, his face angular. He wore a thin black sheathed sword at his waist. The man's eyes were a pale blue. Kaladin had never heard of a light-eyed man playing a flute. Didn't they consider music to be a feminine pursuit? The light-eyed man sang, but they didn't play the instrument. Light-eyed men sang, but they didn't play the instrument. Unless they were Ardents, that was. The man was extremely talented, and the odd melody he played was alien, almost unreal, like something from another place and time. It echoed down the chasm walls and came back. It sounded almost like a man who was in a duet with himself. Kaladin stopped a short distance away, realizing the last thing he wanted to do was deal with a Bright Lord, particularly one who was eccentric enough to dress in black and wander out into the shrouded plains practicing his flute. So Kaladin turned to go. I always worry that I'll forget how to play her. It's silly, I know, considering how long I've practiced, but these days I rarely give her the attention she deserves. You see Kaladin stop and turn towards the stranger. His flute was carved from a strange dark wood that was almost black. The instrument seemed too ordinary to belong to Light Eyes, yet the man held it reverently. What are you doing here? Sitting, occasionally playing. I mean, why are you here? Why am I here? You see the man lower the flute, leaning back and relaxing. Why are any of us here? It's a rather deep question for a first meeting, young Bridgman. I generally prefer introductions before theology. Lunch, too, if it could be found. Perhaps a nice nap. Actually, pretty much anything should come before theology, but especially introductions. All right, and you are? Sitting, occasionally playing, with the minds of Bridgman. You see Kaladin turned to go again. Well, off with you then. Glad to be going. Wouldn't want you too close. I'm rather attached to my Stormlight. You see Kaladin freeze, spin back. What? My spheres. Everyone knows that Bridgmen are thieves, or at least beggars. Oh, you feel the relief in Kaladin. He's talking about spheres, not the actual Stormlight. He didn't know about the curse. Don't be insulted at being called a thief. I meant it as a compliment. A compliment? Calling someone a thief? Of course. I myself am a thief. You are? What do you steal? Pride. And occasionally boredom. If I may take pride onto myself, I am the king's wit, or I was until recently. I think I shall probably be losing that title soon. The king's what? Wit. It was my job to be witty. Saying confusing things isn't the same as being witty. Ah, already you prove yourself more wise than most who have met my acquaintance lately. What is it to be witty, then? To say clever things. And what is cleverness? I guess the ability to do and say things at the right time. You see the king's wit cock his head. And what is your name, my thoughtful Bridgman? Kaladin. And yours? I've many. I began life as a thought, a concept, words on page. That was another thing I stole myself. Another time I was named for a rock. A pretty one, I hope. A beautiful one, and one that became completely worthless for my wearing it. Well, what do men call you now? Many things, and only some of them polite. Almost all are true, unfortunately. You, however, may call me Hoyd. Your name?
Yep.
No, the name of someone I should have loved. Once again, this is a thing that I stole. It's something we thieves do. Well, it was nice meeting you. I'll be on my way. Not before I give you something. Wait, please. You see Kaladin sigh. As Hoyd inspects the length of the dark wood instrument. This is a trailman's flute. It's meant to be used by a storyteller. For him to play while he's telling a story. You mean to accompany a storyteller, being played by someone while he speaks. Actually, I meant what I said. How would you tell a story while playing the flute? You see Hoyd raise an eyebrow and then lift the flute to his lips. Before, in these visions, you guys seem to kind of have a slightly over the shoulder view. And you see Wit's eyes lock on to the exact point of view from which you're looking. I believe some of you may have already heard this one. Oh well, you could always tell a story twice.
You just break the fourth wall.
This man is Deadpool.
But no, actually, is that what actually just happened from understanding? In-game
Yeah.
understanding? Like, did
He
he
could
just...
see us in the vision.
Yeah,
He
okay.
full
That,
Malcolm
yeah,
in
so
the
he...
middled us.
Yeah, okay, so he can break the 8th wall at this point, because it's a 4th wall within the game, so a 4th wall within a 4th wall, so the 8th wall. 16th wall? Ooh, I don't want to think
technically,
about this. We're getting too deep. We're going too deep.
Well, we already had a vision within a vision. How do we not know this is a vision
Too deep.
in which we're
Too deep.
seeing the vision and then seeing another vision?
Inception. Who
We're
has
going
a top?
too deep. Who's the one who's incepted? Is the question.
You'll see Hoyd begin playing. This story is about Darethil and the Wandersail.
Wandersail.
He began to play. The notes were quicker, sharper than the ones he played earlier. They almost seemed to tumble over one another, scurrying out of his flute like children racing one another to be first. They were beautiful and crisp, rising and falling scales, intricate as woven rugs. Kaladin found himself transfixed. The tune was powerful, almost demanding, as if each note were a hook flung out to spear Kaladin's flesh and hold him near. Then Hoyd stopped abruptly, but his notes continued to echo through the chasm, coming back as he spoke. Darethil was well known in lands, though I've heard him spoken of less here in the east. He was a king during the Shadow Days, time before memory. A powerful man, commander of thousands, leader of tens of thousands. Tall, regal, blessed with fair skin and fairer eyes. He was a man to envy. Just as the echoes seemed to fade, Hoyd attacked the instrument again, picking up the rhythm. He actually seemed to continue just where the echoing notes grew too soft, as if there was never a break in the music at all. The notes grew more smooth, suggesting a king walking through a court with his attendants. As Hoyt played, eyes closed, he leaned forward towards the flame. The air blew over the flute, churned in the smoke stirring it. The music grew soft, the smoke swirled, and Kaladin thought he could see the face of a man in the patterns of smoke. A man with a pointed chin, soft and lofty cheekbones. He wasn't really there, of course, just an imagination. But the haunting song and swirling smoke seemed to encourage the imagination. Darethil fought the Voidbringers during the days of the Heralds and Radiance. When there was finally peace, he found he was not content. His eyes would always turn towards the ever-unknown. So he commissioned the finest ship men had ever known, a majestic vessel intended to do what none had ever done before, sail the seas during a high storm. The echoes tapered off as Hoyd began playing again. It's an alternating of the wind and Hoyd's breath seemed to swirl together. Kaladin almost thought he could see the enormous ship in a shipyard, with a sail as large as a building, secured to an arrow-like hull. The melody became so quick and clipped, as if to imitate the sounds of mallets pounding on saw and saws cutting. Darethil's goal was to seek the origin of the Voidbringers, the place where they were said to have spawned. Many called him a fool, and yet he could not hold himself back. He named the vessel the Wandersail, and gathered a crew of the bravest soldiers. Then, on the day a high storm brewed, his ship cast off, riding into the ocean. The Wandersail ran aground as it passed through a high storm, and it was nearly destroyed. But Darathil and most of his sailors survived. They found themselves on rings of small islands surrounded by an enormous whirlpool, where, it is said, the ocean drains. Darathil and his men were greeted by strange people with long, limber bodies who wore robes of a single color and shells in their hair, unlike any that grew back on Roshar. The people took the survivors in, fed them, and nursed them back to health. During his weeks of recovery, Darathil studied the strange people who called themselves the Uvara, the people of the Great Abyss. They lived curious lives, unlike the people of Roshar, who constantly argue. The Uvara always seemed to agree. From childhood, there was no questions. Each and every person went about his duty. One day, when Darathil and his men were sparring to regain their strength, a young serving girl brought them refreshments. She tripped on uneven stone, dropped the goblets to the floor, and shattered them. In a flash, the other Uvara descended on this hapless child and slaughtered her in a brutal way. Darathil and his men were so stunned that by the time they regained their wits, the child was already dead. Angry, Darathil demanded to know the cause of this unjustified murder. One of the other natives explained, "Our emperor will not suffer failure." You could feel the sorrow being very familiar to Kaladin, the sorrow of failure, of letting someone die who should have lived, of being unable to do anything when you should have been able to. Though, of course, Kaladin now felt as if he had a reason for it. He drew the ire of the heralds and was cursed. As Darathil began to pay more attention, he saw other murders. These Uvara, these people of the Great Abyss, were prone to astonishing cruelty. If one of their members did something wrong, something the slightest bit untoward or favorable, the others would slaughter him or her. Each time he asked, Darathil's caregiver would give him the same answer. Our emperor will not suffer failure. As the smoke seems to swirl, there was an exceedingly long tower that seemed to appear in it. The emperor, Darathil discovered, resided on a tower on the east coast of the largest island among the Uvara. Darathil determined that he needed to confront this cruel emperor. What kind of monster would demand such obviously peaceful people to kill so often and so terribly? Darathil gathered his soldiers and sailors, and in a heroic group they armed themselves. The Uvara did not try to stop them, though they watched with fright as the strangers stormed into the Emperor's tower. Darathil and his men came out of the tower a short time later, carrying a desecrated corpse and fine jewelry and clothes. "This is your emperor?" Darathil demanded. "We found him in the top room alone." It appears the man had been dead for years, but nobody had dared to enter the tower. They were too frightened of him. When he showed the Uvara the dead body, they began to wail and weep. The entire island was cast into chaos as the Uvara began to burn homes, riot, or fall to their knees in torment. Amazed and confused, Darathil and his men stormed the Uvara shipyards where the Wandersail was being repaired. Their guide and caretaker joined them as she begged to accompany them in their escape. So it was that Nafti joined the crew. Darathil and his men set sail, and though the winds were still, they rowed the Wandersail around the whirlpool, using the momentum to spin them out and away from the islands. Long after they left, they could see the smoke rising from the ostensibly peaceful island. They gathered on deck, watching, and Darathil asked Nafti the reason for the terrible riots. You see, White fell very silent, Well, what was their response? Holding the blanket around herself, staring with haunted eyes at her lands, she replied, Do you not see, traveling one? If the Emperor is dead, and has been all these years, then the murders we have committed are not his responsibility, but our own. As Kaladin sits back, the playful trickery, mockery, quick tongue of Hoyd did not appear to be there with those final words. It was complete sincerity. As you see Kaladin lick his dry lips, I think that's cleverness. You see Hoyd raise an eyebrow. Being able to remember a story like that and to tell it with such care. Be wary of what you say. If all you need for cleverness is a good story, then I'll find myself out of the job. Didn't you say you were already out of the job? True, the king is finally without a wit. I wonder what that makes him. Witless? I'll tell him you said that. But I think it's inaccurate. One can have a wit, but not be witless. What is a wit? I don't know. Some kind of sprint in your head. Maybe it makes you think. I suppose that's as good an explanation as any. You see Hoyd stand up and dust off his black trousers. Is the story true? Perhaps. But how do we know? Did Darathil and his men return? Some source said they did. But how could they? The high storms only blow in one direction. Then I guess the story's a lie. I did say that. No, I said it. Fortunately, it's the best kind of lie. And what kind is that? Why, the kind I tell, of course. What did you put in the fire to make the special smoke? Nothing. It was just ordinary smoke. But I saw it. What you saw belongs to you. A story didn't live. As he looks up at the section where you all are looking down from again. A story doesn't live until it's imagined in someone's mind. What does the story mean then? It means what you want it to mean. The purpose of a storyteller is not to tell you how to think, but to give you questions to think upon. Too often we forget that. It means taking responsibility. As you see Kaladin look back towards the war camps, towards Bridge 4. The Uvara, they were happy to kill and murder so long as they could blame the Emperor. It wasn't until they realized that there was nobody to take responsibility that they showed grief. That's one interpretation. A fine one, actually. So what do you not want to take responsibility for? What? People see in stories what they're looking for, my young friend. I do not have answers for you. Most days I feel I've never had any answers. I've come to your land to chase an old acquaintance, but ended up spending most of my time hiding from him instead. You said about me and responsibility. Just an idle comment, nothing more. My comments are often idle. I can never get them to do any solid work. Would that I could make words carry stones. That would be something to see. Here, I've carried her for longer than you would believe. I'll tell you. Were I to tell you, you wouldn't believe me. Take her for yourself, as you see him hand Kaladin the black flute. But I don't know how to play it. Then learn! When you could make the music sing back to you, you know you've mastered it. And take good care of that blasted apprentice of mine. He should really let me know he was still alive. Perhaps he'd fear that I'd come to rescue him again. Apprentice? Tell him that I graduate him. He's a full world singer now. Don't let him be killed. I spent far too long trying to force some sense in that brain of his. Sigil is your first thought. I'll give him the flute. You hear Kaladin shout after. No, you won't. It's a gift for you, Kaladin Stormbless. I expect you to be able to play it when next we meet. And with that, you see Hoyd break into a jog, head off towards the war camps. As Kaladin begins to walk back, you hear a soft voice from behind him. I don't like him. He's strange. As the small figure of Syl pops down. Syl! How long have you been there? You were watching the story. I didn't want to interrupt. Still, I'm behind what's happening to you. I'm doing it. It's both of us, but without me, nothing would be changing in you. I'm taking something from you and giving something in return. That's the way it used to work, though I can't remember how or when. I just know that it was. Hush, I'm talking. Sorry. I'm willing to stop it if you want, but I would go back to what I was before. That scares me. Floating on the wind, never remembering anything before. Not remembering anything longer than a few minutes. It's because of this tie between us that I could think again. And I remember what and who I am. If we end it, I lose that. You see Kaladin look back into her eyes. Come, he says, walking away. What responsibility are you avoiding? He wasn't avoiding responsibility, he was taking too much responsibility. Liren had said that constantly, chastising Kaladin for feeling guilt over deaths he couldn't prevent. Though there was one thing he clung to, an excuse, perhaps like the dead emperor. It was the soul of the wretch, apathy, the brief nothingness. It was a belief that he couldn't change anything. If a man was cursed, or if he believed that he didn't care, then he didn't need to hurt when he failed. Those failures could not have been prevented. Someone or something else ordained them. If I'm not cursed, then why do I live when other people die? Because of us. This bond makes you stronger, Kaladin. And why can't it make me strong enough to help others? I don't know. Maybe it can. See him continue to walk. He often thought about saving the bridgemen, and yet he told himself he wouldn't let them die because he knew what it would do to him if they did. When he lost men, the wretch threatened to take over because of how much Kaladin hated failing. Was that it? Was that why he searched for a reason why he might be cursed, to explain his failures away? He was doing something good in helping the bridgemen, but also something selfish. The powers had unsettled him because of the responsibility they represented. You feel him break into a jog, and before long he was sprinting. But it wasn't about him. If he wasn't helping the bridgemen because he loathed failure or because he feared the pain of watching them die, then it would just be about them, about Rock's affable jibes, about Toomey constantly watching him, about Moash's intensity, about Garrick's stoicism, about Lopin's jibes, about Luis's ridiculousness. What would he do to protect them? Give up his illusions, his excuses, seize whatever opportunity he could, no matter how it changed him, no matter how it unnerved him or what burdens it represented. You see him dash to the edge of the lumberyard. Outside, the rest of Bridge 4, who are not currently stuck in a vision, were making stew. As you all walk up, you see Kaladin approach Teft. And the last thing you hear before the vision disappears is, what do you know? And how do you know it? And you're awake.
Heft?
In any case, you all get your stew. You have a lot to think about. The next morning, you guys are on chasm duty. You get your training.
What?
If, again, you don't have it already. You are very much so proficient in good old spears. And you guys, it's been about a week. You haven't gone on any major bridge runs. They've fallen outside of your purview. So go ahead and make sure you take 5 more spheres.
Well, you mean
No,
5 total spears.
I've broken the 50 mark, baby.
Yeah, baby.
I have been spending them as quickly as they come in.
I'd actually like to get all of mine relit, all 52 of them. I guess 51 if it will cost 1 to get them relit.
For 50, take 2. Just make it an even 50.
Oh, nice. At least I don't break the 50. That's where I'm happy.
You all have come along swimmingly. Your skills are really, really something to behold. Hobber is back up. Of course, Drahe? Yes, Drahe is still out of it, mental shock. But everybody is doing really well. The standouts amongst all of the folk are definitely Moash, Scar, Pelinar, Garrick, and interestingly enough, pulling up the back, Mr. Lowell. Who's going to be nosy?
No, it's definitely to me.
Do me, perception check.
Somebody else wants to be. You can be.
Nope.
This is your slot now.
Oh no, I'm not.
Okay, so interestingly, this happened. You see Kaladin leave around a corner with Rock and Lopin as well. As you look down, you see him kneeling over something and seeming to scrape shit away, and then puts it in a bag and gives it to Lopin.
Oh man.
As you continue to snoop, roll another perception check, please. As you go, you will continue to kind of snoop around as you see Kaladin. He's glowing again, very slightly, but he's glowing. As you see a very interesting thing happen. He has the Stormlight in him, and Teft and Rock and even Lopin are trying to basically 3v1 him, and that is not working. He is moving ridiculously fast as he just shoves him out of the way, and then seems like he bathes the ground in a kind of like pool of light, which, as Rock tries to step across it, catches him and can't move from that position.
Mm.
In any case, as you guys come back up from your bridge run, you will see Brightness Hashal, the current, the wife of the current owner of the bridge yards, who is in control for Sadius, wave over Kaladin. As you all go in, you give her a very reluctant bow, as is necessitated by her rank. You have such a well-trained band, bridge leader. So efficient at bridge runs. Thank you, Brightness Ashal. May I ask, Gaz hasn't been seen for a few days. Is he well? No. My husband has made a decision. Your men are so good at bridge runs that you are a model for other crews. As such, you'll be on bridge duty every day from now on.
God damn it.
I'm not going to
Awesome.
survive. That is a death sentence.
Awesome.
For you specifically.
That's the point.
Nice
Yeah.
knowing you.
And
She
scavenging
just
duty?
tried to kill off Luis.
And scavenging duty? Oh, there will be time for that. You don't need to. You need to take torches down anyway. Plateau runs never happen at night, so your men will sleep during the day, always on call, and will work chasms at night. Much better use of you. Every bridge run. You're going to make us go on every one? Yes. Your team is just too good. You must be used. You'll start full-time bridge duty tomorrow. Consider it an honor.
The temptation to go up and stab a bitch.
As she retreats, you hear Taft cursing in the background. It's not fair. We're bridgemen. What made you think that any kind of fairness was applied to us? She hasn't killed us fast enough for Sadie's. You know that the soldiers have been beaten for coming to look at you, to see the man who survived the high storm. He hasn't forgotten about you, Kaladin. You hear Taft in the background just still swearing every fucking second.
Fuck, bitch, ass, fuck, cock, motherfucker.
Exactly.
It's almost like I do that at work a lot. Sorry, guys.
He circles back.
PCG
Damnation!
Switch.
It's like they pretend to be even-handed with the bridge crews. Make them seem fair. Looks like they've given up on that. Bastards. And what do we do, Gancho? Go to the chasms, just like we're scheduled to. Get some extra sleep tonight. Apparently we're going to be staying up all night tomorrow. The men will hate going into the chasms at night, lad. I know. But we're not ready for what we need to do quite yet. I know, but another week should do it just fine. So, I have a plan. As you see him pat him on the shoulder. Rest of the day is yours. This will be the last before we hit like major gas pedal for the last 30 minutes. Anybody?
Does anyone have any deep, dark secrets they want to unveil to us before they die?
I'm secretly the big bad, and I'm plotting against all of you.
Nice.
Ah, that's it.
We're supposed to just go ahead and say it.
Be insane.
Hey man, sometimes it's more fun that way if they know. Then they don't know what to expect. Thanks for playing along with me, Trace. I appreciate you.
No? No final goodbyes? All right. Fair
I mean,
enough.
I think I'm gonna make it out of this.
That's adorable.
I'm joking. I'm in my corner making my own peace.
All righty. Well, you guys suddenly look over at Pellinor.
I'll go over and help Garrick out with his drawings. He needs it.
You guys look over at Pellinor, who has seemed to have come out of a strange 2 weeks, coma. Huh. He's alive.
Lives as he dies. The boy lived. Come.
It's funny you make that Harry Potter reference because we saw the Harry Potter musical on Broadway while we were out of town.
80% of what you do on Facebook is shit posting, by the way, and I enjoy it, like almost all of it.
That's the only reason I stay there.
It's
You get
literally
it,
you're like the only reason I look at Facebook anymore. Is
You
because like,
really
oh,
gotta
what kind
pay
of shit posts
attention
has he
to
got?
Jake's Facebook fights that he starts for no reason and gets banned from the internet.
Oh, I jumped on one of them. He fucking insulted One Piece. I'm like, brother, my brother in Christ. You realize I'm right here, right?
Anyways,
One Piece? You mean one piece of trash?
Oh, you can suck my left nut.
with the night spent with a belly full of stew and the prospects of going on continuous bridge runs and chasm
I do have
duty,
one thing to say before it. If any of us died, sucks to suck. Candy bars? Anyone that's got weed?
I can't find my weed pen. I've been looking.
That sucks to suck, boy.
I'll join you.
Later.
But yet
as
again,
you-
Brandon was gonna bring me a disposable and he never did.
Nope.
Fuck Brandon.
Because it's
as
not
you
Friday
all,
yet.
make
That's
your way
fair.
out on the
Party
bridge run.
foul.
You get about halfway through it before you notice that Kaladin's actually wearing a 3 glyph pairing on his on a band wrapped around his arm.
I'll take the
really
front
think-
like I always do, by the way.
You really think one of
Can
those will
I
save us?
read the glyphs?
I forgot that you could do that.
Sure. Oh God. I believe it's wind protection and beloved. It's a prayer to Jezreel, the Stormfather.
Wow. Badass.
I'm not going to say anything about it yet. I'm going to say something at a really bad time to say something.
Can't believe you paid good money for that. If there are heralds watching, they don't pay mind to bridgemen. I guess I've been feeling nostalgic lately. My mom used to like these ones. They're going to see us dead, you know, you hear Drehy say from behind. This is it. You guys were exhausted. You'd been forced to work chasm duty all nights the previous. You had strict requirements, increased amount of salvage. In fact, in order to meet the quota, most had unfortunately had to forego training to scavenge. And then today you'd been awakened for a morning chasm assault after only 3 hours of sleep. You were drooping as you stood in line, and you hadn't even reached the contested plateau yet. Let it come. They want us dead. Well, I'm not going to back down. We'll show them what courage is. They can hide behind our bridge while we charge. That's no victory. I say we attack the soldiers right now. Our own troops. Sure. They're going
Get
to
'em.
kill us anyways. Let's take a few of them with us. Damnation, why not just charge Sadius? His guard won't be expecting it. I bet we could knock down a few guards and grab their spheres. Then we'll be on killing light eyes before they cut us
That's
down.
an idea I like.
No, it won't accomplish anything. They'll have us dead before we could so much as inconvenience Sadius. And this will accomplish something. Damnation, Kaladin, I feel like I'm already dangling from a noose. I have a plan. There were no objections. Look at that. Well then, what is it? You'll see today. If it works, it'll buy us time. If it fails, I'll be dead. In that case, Teft has orders to lead you on an escape attempt tonight. You're not ready, but at least you'll have a chance. Far better than attack. You see, the men generally not. As you all begin to make your approach. Okay. That's not super. A soldier tries to dick around and steal some of your water. Kaladin goes up and basically alphas him down. Not super important.
Got that dog in him.
Yeah. Alrighty. Those at the front, including Rock, Garrick, Moash, and Pelinar. You'll hear him talk. I'm going to duck from underneath once we start moving. Rock, you take over. Keep them running. Very well. It will be hard to carry this thing without you. We have so few men, and we are very weak. You'll manage. You'll have to. This thing, you will try. It is dangerous? Perhaps. Can I help? I'm afraid not, my friend. But it strengthens me to hear you ask. You hear the order for the bridge crews to go as arrows shoot overhead to distract the Parshendi. Athletics checks, everybody.
Whee!
It's time
All
to
right.
die. Yup. Lol's coming with me.
Oh my god, I'm
Go ahead
scared.
and mark that natural one
Hey,
down
you
again.
know, Cam,
Alright,
you know how
well,
I promised
Oh,
to get your name
I'm coming too.
tattooed?
Oh,
Yeah, better better be in big bright letters.
Ooh.
Lil, Raphael, and Luis, you all stumble your way down
Yo.
as you go, and you're like, oh, we're fucked. And then you see a figure in orange armor pass you. You three roll perception checks.
Wait, the ones that made
The
the
ones that failed.
spell.
Oh.
Okay.
Yo, it hovered on a 19, and then it went. Through.
Brother,
Like,
not
oh.
another one. Guys, come on. We had a good lead.
Luis
I blame you.
That's absolutely fair.
Luis and Lul. As you go out to the side, you'll hear Matal in the background screaming at Kaladin in a panic, but the bridge crews were already in motion. You see Kaladin focus on his goal, protecting Bridge 4, and he's sucked in sharply. As you guys will actually see for the first time, Syl zipping out in front of him, a ripple in the air, nearly invisible, as Kaladin whipped the tie off the sack and pulled a vest on, throwing it awkwardly over his head. Ignoring the ties on the side and getting the helmet on, he leaped over a small rock formation, and the shield came out last, clattering with Parshindi bones from a crisscross pattern at the front. Roll an intelligence check. You three.
Damn it.
I should be okay at these, but with how my dice have been,
I
never
am
mind.
not a small
Hey,
boy. But let's.
Luis! 21.
Luis, you remember Shin's reaction to just touching Parshindi dead, let alone cutting off their carapace and wearing it.
Oof.
Gonna be happy.
You hear this strange chittering sound pass through the entire front of the Parshindi line as they see Kaladin. As the Parshindi archers stop singing for a second and then grow angry as they fling arrow after arrow specifically at Kaladin.
Oh.
The Parshindi left their dead, not because they were uncaring, but because they found it a terrible offense to move them. Merely touching the dead seemed to be a sin. And in this case, a man was desecrating a corpse and wearing them into battle. Imagine that would be far, far worse. As Kaladin grew closer, this song amongst the Parshindi archers spread and spread further. A quick violet song, more chanting than melody. Those who had lowered their bows raised them again and tried with everything they had to kill Kaladin. And Kaladin alone. As you see wave after wave of arrow directed straight at him as he dodges. The rest of you set down the bridge, put it in place. And after not too long, you see the cavalry charge pass by. Sadius's initial force gains ground, and the arrows stop. It was a nearly perfect solution to your problem, you realize, as you all look over at Kaladin, who, by the way, kind of looks like a porcupine at the moment.
Yeah, I'm gonna make sure he's okay.
Every piece of carapace that he has on him is currently fletched with some sort of arrow. As you all run up,
Standing or is he on the ground?
Oh no, he's standing. He is breathing hard, but he is definitely standing.
Oi, Goncho, where can I learn to do that?
You fool! You storming fool! What was that? What were you thinking? It was incredible. You should be dead, Stormfather. Look at these. As you look down, there are dozens of arrow holes through the sides of his vest and the shirt, where our arrows just barely missed him. Stormblessed. That's all there is to it. You see Kaladin kind of shaking off the praise as his heart is still, you could almost hear it pounding out of his chest. You see Teft raise an eyebrow, nod towards the pouch on his waist. You see him shake his head. To me, it was not. The Stormlight was not visible to those around, not in this bright light. As you all look around, you see something miraculous. Not a single bridge crew was taken down. In fact, not a single man taken down.
Yeah, deathless.
You see
Dark
the
Souls,
passing.
no hit run.
You see the passing troops create a distinct line through and definitively solidify their hold on that section of the plateau. You'll see several figures approaching, the first being Matal. He looks very concerned, and then you see Sadius riding up beside him as Kaladin steeled himself and approached the two. As Kaladin arrived, Matal bowed to Sadius, who wore his glorious red shard plate. Kaladin bowed as well. Avrak Matal, this man looks familiar. He is the one, Bright Lord. The one. Ah, yes, the miracle. And you sent him forward as a decoy like that. One would think that you'd be hesitant to dare such measures. I take full responsibility, Bright Lord. Well, luckily for you, it worked. I suppose I'll have to promote you now. Those savages practically ignored the assault force. All 20 bridges set, with most nary a casualty. Seems like a waste somehow. Consider yourself commended. How remarkable the way that boy dodged. As he kicks his horse into motion, leaving Matal and the bridgeman behind. You could have gotten me executed. Instead, I got you promoted. I should see you strung up anyway. It's been tried. It didn't work. Besides, you know from now on Sadius is going to expect me to be out there distracting the archers. Good luck getting any other bridgeman to try that. You see Matal's face grow red as he stalks away. You see Moash and Scar walking forward. You did it, Kaladin. You found the secret. We need to make this work, expand it. I bet I could dodge those arrows if it was all I'd doing. With enough armor. We should have more than one. 5 or so, running around, drawing Parshindi attacks. The bones. This is what made this thing work. The Parshindi were so mad they ignored the bridge crew. If all 5 were these... You see Kaladin kind of consider something and look back as you see Shin sitting on the rocks just looking completely despondent. Might not be good for bridge runs anymore. We'll see. For now, there are still many bridge crews that got fired upon. I guess we should check them. As Kaladin steps forward, he looks suddenly pale as he kind of stumbles down to his knees. You see his skin is completely pale. There's almost a flaminess to it. You all right, lad? I'll be fine. You don't look. I'll be fine. And then you see him stand up again as a very interesting sight happens. Kaladin! What? Kaladin! As Lopin is calling his name, you all look over. Firstly, Lopin never calls Kaladin Kaladin. He calls him Gancho. Number 2, as you all look over, you see a large group of Parshinia broken through the Sadius line are chittering as they raise up a volley of arrows to shoot directly at Kaladin and subsequently the bridge crew that surrounds him, namely you.
I'm gonna... Fuck. There's nothing I can really do.
What an answer.
I had a moment where I'm like, there's something I can do, right? And then it's like, I'm starting to speak, but I have nothing to actually say. That's unfortunate.
In a moment,
I'm
you
gonna
see
fucking-
Kaladin looking sluggish as he attempts to go and protect you.
I'm trying to protect his ass. Fuck it.
In an instant, you all see the dreams of Bridge 4 collapse into nothing. You almost hear Kaladin screaming, "No, no, it can't happen like this. Not after." Roll a perception check.
Everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm focused on going towards him.
Yep.
Fuck it.
Oh,
God
fuck.
damn it. Guys, I want to let
Raphael.
you all know it is I won't tell you which is which, but it's 29 to 32.
I am so perceptive. I have my detective hat on. I'm ready to sleuth.
Raphael, you see the blurring slate gray figure of Dalinar Kholin suddenly crash into the Parshendi line as he had just arrived at the battle. You see, just as the Parshendi were about to launch, just sword after sword as it slashes through, eyes burning out before you. A few arrows flew towards you, but they were loosed far too early, didn't have the power and or the aim. As the shard bearer's honor finally caught up with him, he turned, and his armor seemed to glow as he raised a blade in salute of respect towards you, Bridgman. And then he charged off back into the battle. That was him. Dalinar Kholin, the king's uncle. He saved us. Probably just saw a group of undefended archers and took the chance to strike. My guys don't care about us, right, Kaladin? You see Kaladin just staring in place where the archers once were. Kaladin? You're
Fucking same, just 1,000 yard. Like, holy shit, that was him. That was
You're right.
Dalinar.
just an opportunity taken. But even you, without even a check, you could tell that he doesn't really believe that. Why would he raise the blade toward him? From now on, we pulled further back after the soldiers cross. They used to ignore us after the battle began, but I don't think they will any longer. What I did today, we're all going to be doing it soon. Make them mighty angry. Angry enough to be stupid, but also angry enough to see us dead. For now, Leighton, Narum, find a good scouting point and watch the field. I want to know if any Parshendi make moves towards the chasm like that again. You guys will see Moash kneel next to Kaladin. An assault against a prepared force without any bridges lost. A shard bearer coincidentally coming to our rescue. Sadius himself complimenting us. You almost make me think I should get one of those armbands. He flicks at the triple rune glyph. You glance down at the prayer and note that it is just completely stained with blood from a slice that was on his arm previously and no longer seems to be. And we'll wait to see if we escape. That's the real test. All right. You guys fairly easily make your way back through the night. You have about another week, so collect your 5 spheres again.
Yeah, baby! Back to 55!
As you all are pretty darn well trained. Then comes a very, very early morning. The past few days, you guys have been largely allowed to reduce the load of salvage needed from the chasms, as you needed to create more armor and also get more rest. So They've been letting you do that since you've been so integral to the past few bridge runs. Who else wants to be a runner out there with your armor? Ooh, lol.
I'm
Well,
dumb
Garrick.
enough to try. And
I'll do it.
die.
You know I can do it.
Lil Garrick and Luis, you are in armor along with Moash and Scar.
I like my eyebrows too much.
It's
Feels
the
weird being
early
back in
morning
college,
hours.
you know?
You actually have a decent amount of sleep today as you feel yourselves almost hopeful. It's not perfect, but it was a damn good strategy for survival. You could almost taste the 100 bridge runs if they actually let you out.
Is that a keyword? If.
If.
If is good.
If is good.
It's not exactly no.
As you all come to wakefulness, it's about 5 in the morning. The sun has just barely crested over the edge of the lumberyard. And you hear 3 resounding purr, purr, purr. Garrick, you recognize the horn blearing. This is for a very far out plateau. And they're calling for about half the army. In comparison, they usually take only about a fourth of it.
I imagine I'm hanging out with Lowell or something and just that's odd.
What are you talking about?
A far run today. Rare.
In fact, there's only one other time that you guys have gone out that far.
So you're saying I should start stretching now?
Yesterday.
Oh, that far, huh?
The only other time that you all had gone out that far was when you went to the tower and you tried the side carry bridge.
Oh, that's cool. I remember that. That was fun. That ended great.
I was stoned.
All right, last one for everybody, I imagine, minus Garrick. Go ahead and plus 1 modifier to your strength score.
Yup.
I'm at like a 25
Nice.
now. I'm just kidding.
Garrick, because you have maxed out, congratulations, you get a plus 1 to your dex score instead.
Woo! It's useless for right now, but I'll take it.
Wait, do I get
It'll
one
be
then?
useful next level.
Are you maxed out at your strength?
Yeah.
Did you just max
You're
out?
at 20?
No, I maxed out last time.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
okay.
Yo,
Then
Strength
yes.
Bros!
Wow. Jesus.
I thought it was
Didn't
just
look
me.
that far into it. That makes sense.
I have a
Okay,
ways
cool.
to go.
Yes. Dex it
Yes,
is.
I'm nowhere close. I am a +2 now though, so
Good job.
I'm at 19.
Feels really good to watch that happen.
Stronger than all you boys.
Strong girl.
Most of you boys.
Excuse me? I was like,
Most of you
excuse?
boys.
Most, sort of.
Strong.
Did I miss
I'm
a
a strong
modifier
boy.
a while ago?
You might
Oh,
have.
God.
What's your total plus right now?
Strong.
Total after this one would be
For modified?
5.
That's max.
Yeah. So if you're at 20, that's max. You're good.
Freaking thug, dude.
He's fucking thug life in it,
I
bruv.
imagine you should be about at 20 by now.
Yeah. I had a +5 to
Most
my
people
strength
either
from
are
getting to.
or right before it.
What is that?
Everybody,
fucking rip.
as you set out on this very long bridge run, one last Arcana check.
All right.
Okay.
Everybody?
So,
I'll
Yeah.
never know my friend's
Ooh.
name.
Ayo.
The one who can see all of them, cursed never to
know.
find her own.
I will never know the name.
She's like, I see the dopest shit. Who are you?
He's real fun to watch. I don't.
Yeah.
I call him Paul.
Also, to be fair, he's
I'm
the only
Paul.
one that's currently not non-functional.
I know.
Everybody else is passed the fuck out still.
I guess we look at silver linings.
In any case, let's see here. Okay, interesting. With the combined subconscious efforts of Luis and Pellinar, there's a strange connection formed once again between you and Dalinar, and along with the entire group. But it's what normally makes you pass out. This time is kind of a half vision. You see, as you are several hours into your run, Dalinar standing with Sadius on a rock formation overlooking the tower itself. It had been a very long and hard march through the day. The plateau seems to rise up to a peak at the edge, one of the few that's like this on the entire Shattered Plains. Ah, I see it. They don't have the gem heart out yet. You should be glad you're using my bridges, old friend. The chasms might have been too wide for a shard bearer to jump. You see Dalinar nod. The tower was enormous. Even its size on maps didn't do justice. The chasms between the plateaus were usually large, almost too large for a bridge to span. On nearby staging plateaus, thousands upon thousands of soldiers in blue and green were prepared.
Map change. Oh, fuck.
Looks so
was
cool.
the battle that they had been waiting for. A massive force of Alethi against a massive force of Parshendi. One that they hoped would be enough to end this war altogether. Come with me. Let's assault them together. A single grand wave of attack across 40 bridges. See Dalinar look down at the bridge crews. Many of the members were lying exhausted on the plateaus, awaiting, likely dreading, their next task. Very few of them wore armor that Sadius had spoken of. Hundreds of them would be slaughtered in an assault if they attacked together. But was that any different from what Dalinar did, asking his men to charge into battle to seize the plateau? Were they all part of the same army? The cracks, he couldn't let them go any wider. If he was going to be with Navani, he had to prove to himself that he could remain firm in other areas. No, I will attack only after you've made the landing point for my bridge crews. Even that is more than I should allow. Never force your men to do something you yourself would not. You do charge the Parshendi. I never do it while carrying one of those bridges. I'm sorry, old friend. It's not a judgment on you. It's what I must do. Well, it will have to do. We still plan on dining together tonight to discuss strategy? I assume so, unless Elokar has a fit for both of us missing his feast. He's going to have to grow accustomed to it. 6 years of feasting every night is growing tedious. Besides, I doubt that you'll feel anything but elation after we win the day and leave the Parshendi down a full third of their soldiers. And see you on the battlefield. Dalinar nods as Sadius jumps off the rock formation, dropping down onto the surface below and joining the others. I'm going to make them big, but they are not this big. I don't have a... Huh, I don't have one. Okay, well, Adolin, sorry, but you don't get your chart play. I thought I had one.
Bum, bum, bum. That douchey prick in the back.
Oh, I just realized I have not even done this.
You should do that.
Alrighty.
Do it. Oh yeah, we should all do that. RD 20.
Nope. I am convinced it's never gonna happen.
It will.
It'll happen.
Statistically, it will.
What is it? R
Slash R.
slash 1?
Slash
Slash
R.
R.
Slash R.
Then
Slash
it's
R
space
D
1.
420. You can put the 1 if you want to. It doesn't matter truly.
Sick.
I see.
Closest one tonight's Lowell.
The tower, it was not only larger than most plateaus, it was rougher, covered in lumpy rock formations that had foundations of hardened crim. The patterns covered were rolling and smooth, very uneven, like a field full of short walls covered by a blanket of snow. The eastern tip of the plateau rose to a point overlooking the plains. The northern one, the more northern one Dalinar would assault from was just below it. We need to push the Parshendi to the southeast, corner them there. If you do that, then Sadeas could help him push them against the cliff's edge. The Parshendi would probably allow this, given as it gives them the high ground. If the second Parshendi army came, it would separate the others and create a defensive position against the new arrivals. This would work. He felt himself growing excited, almost too excited, as something that in this group only Garrick has experienced before. The thrill. A kind of a Lethe push towards battle. You almost lose yourself, become embroiled in the bloodshed of it all, the thrill of it all, the absolute challenge. And yet you feel Dalinar feel fear at this prospect. He seems to recede from it. Looking out, he sees a group of armored bridgemen standing out, preparing at the very front center of the formation of the bridge crews. Why were they allowed armor? Why not the others as well? It looked like Parshendi Carapace. You can feel Dalinar shake his head as the assault began. The bridge crews running ahead of Sadeas' army, approaching the tower first. Where would you like to make the assault, Father? Adolin asks from his side. There. Get the men ready. Adolin nodded, shouting orders. In the distance, bridgemen began to die. Heralds guide your path, your poor man, as well as my own. The lot of you. Athletics check, please.
Well,
The what check?
Aye, aye,
time to
Captain.
die.
Oh no.
Athletics.
Guys, being
Yup.
at the front this whole time is
Yup.
finally gonna come back to bite me in the ass.
Yup.
Trace, for when you ask it higher.
22 bitches.
You
I'm-
actually are in a
oh, no.
different circumstance.
Oh no.
I'm a froggy.
Yeah, you bait.
Damn
I'm
it.
okay with that.
So Garrick, roll a dex
Oh,
check.
him, not me. Okay.
Dex
Nice.
check. Oh.
Oh, solid. You avoid most of the arrows.
Man, next time I get a
I'm
plus, that'll be real
guessing
nice.
I have to do something similar.
No, you're dead.
Luis, you're bait? Yeah, you are bait. Yeah, dex save for you though, because you full on tripped.
See ya.
You okay?
Oh.
You scramble the fuck out of the way.
I was gonna say if it matters, he's further in the back, but never mind.
No, he's bait too.
We're all just a little bit of bait.
You all look as most of the regular folks out there who were bait were just kind of bobbing and weaving, avoiding shit. And then there's Kaladin, who seemed to be dancing with the wind. Arrows screamed around him, passing close, nearly kissing him with their fletched shale bark. He had to let him get close. The Parshendi needed to feel like they were about to kill him. It was interesting. you guys were noticing that despite there being other bridgemen around, and despite there also being 5 other people with the Parshendi Carapace armor, they still seem to focus fire on Kaladin in particular, as if he were a symbol.
Protect the captain. Only.
As the rest of you approach, you place down the bridge. You slide it across. And it's in place. And you all retreat back in good ways. That was easy.
Too easy.
Particularly easy. As you all will see Sadius's cavalry charge pushing back the Parshendi.
The urge to throw a bag of shit at a man is rising.
You all will see them spread to the left-hand side as they secure a place for Dalinar's bridge crews to put down their bridges and allow them to cross. Watching, you'll see as Dalinar and Adolin crash into the sides, starting to push the army further up. Sadius's army pulls back to redefend their side, fully cross, trying to sandwich them up into this northern section. All is going well.
For now.
The army pushes across. The Parshendi get further pushed in. The army pushes in further.
This is all gonna go wrong.
You
They're
see Dalinar push all the way up with his honor guard, along with Adolin, as they battle their way in. The Parshendi are being crushed. And as Dalinar's army pushes further in, you'll all look out as the second army arrives, as was expected.
Bitch.
Crashes in, begins making their way leaping over. And then this is where an interesting thing happens. You all will see the flag of retreat come up from Sadius's army.
Mhm.
One that would only happen if the High Lord himself was perhaps injured. You're ordered to stand by your bridge and prepare to pull back. As you do, you'll see a very interesting sight. High Lord Sadius passes on the bridge before turning around on his horse, looking over the battlefield. You all look to the left as the bridge crews borrowed from Sadius for Dalinar's assault are pulled back from the left-hand side. You really shouldn't have trusted me, old friend. Truly, a bigger mistake has never been made. As the full army retreat is ordered.
Oh shit.
And Dalinar Kholin is trapped on a plateau, surrounded on all sides by Parshendi.
It's okay. He gonna live. He just gonna be missing his right arm.
Damn.
As you all feel sick to your stomach.
I already. That's
The
my
worst.
hero.
Dude is the worst.
I want to kill Sadie so bad, guys.
Bridge 4 lagged behind the rest of the army. Scar had got a arrow through his calf, and Teft one through his foot. You were going slow. And as you, when turned, there you are, tiny little you. You all seem to just so tired, especially Kaladin after using that much Stormlight. As they start to approach the next staging plateau, you lagged behind. Bridge 4, come on, Matal called from behind. You see Kaladin kind of look up as Moash looks over at the building army and its general shrinkage. Isn't that a sight? It's a shame. Makes me sick. You see a lot of the bridgemen nodding. It's a shame. It's a shame to Sadius. It's a shame to us. You hear Matal call out again. Bridge 4, move. As you see Kaladin's eyes squint. We'll follow on our own bridge, Matal. We only just got to the chasm. We need to sit for a few minutes. Cross now. We'll just fall further behind. You want us to explain to Sadius why he has to hold up the entire army for one miserable bridge crew? We've got our bridge. Let my men rest. We'll catch up with you later. And if those savages come after you? See Kaladin shrug. Mattel blinks for a few seconds before coming to the realization of how badly he wants that to happen. Suit yourself. He rushes across Bridge 6, and the other bridges were pulled up. Within a minute or two, Kaladin's team was completely alone beside the chasm, the army retreating westward. You see Kaladin smile broadly. I can't believe it. After all my worrying. Men, we're free.
What?
Pardon?
We'll
That's Marshall saying it, not Garrick's more just confused in the moment questioningly. But Marshall, what?
We'll follow in a short while, and Matal will assume we're coming. We will fall further and further behind the army until we're out of sight. Then we'll turn north, use the bridge to cross the plains to Natin. We can escape, and everybody will just assume that the Parshendi caught us and slaughtered us.
It can't be that easy. It cannot be that easy.
What about the supplies? We have the spheres, a wealth of them right here. We can take the armor and weapons from the dead over there, use those to defend ourselves from bandits. It won't be that hard. We won't be chased.
I'm
Looking at
down.
Kaladin, what's his idea here?
I approve of this message.
It's a catch.
As you think about it, you come to realize it'll work. But then you see Kaladin's face twist. Insight check, please.
Yeah, baby, that's what I was waiting on. Yeah, baby, I'm not very good at these.
6, hell yeah.
6, baby.
To me. You kind of immediately know what he was thinking. First thought is, what about the wounded bridgemen back in camp?
Yep.
I'll have to stay behind. What? Someone will need to. For the good of our wounded in camp, we can't abandon them. If I say I can support them, the story. Wound me, leave me behind on one of the plateaus. Sadius is sure to send scavengers back. I'll tell him my crew was hunted down in retribution for desecrating the Parshendi corpses. Our bridge was tossed into the chasm. They'll believe it. They see how much the Parshendi hate us. You see the crew all standing now, kind of shooting glances at one another. Very uncomfortable glances. We are not leaving without you, Sigil says, and most of the others behind nod. I'll follow, I just can't leave those men behind. Kaladin, lad, we can talk about me later. Maybe I'll go with you, then sneak back into camp later to rescue the wounded. For now, just go scavenge those bodies. You see everybody hesitate. It's an order, men. After another moment, everybody moves, offering no further complaints.
Actually, I'll stick behind.
Okay. As you stick behind and kind of look at Kaladin, you could almost see the look of growing sickness on his face. Something is bugging him beyond even the wounded back at camp.
Just for a moment, before I leave, I'll just kind of look at him and be like, Kaladin, we all want what we can't have. You want to save everyone, and you can't save everyone.
But I could do my best. Interestingly enough, those words actually seem to have a deeper resonance than you were expecting.
I mean, Marshall was expecting quite a bit of resonance, but hey. And then
you all will be going about scavenging, and as you look back, you'll see Kaladin staring out at that trapped Kholin army. Roll an intelligence check, everybody.
fuck it.
Luis, Varix, you have a bridge. You could set it.
I think that's a good idea.
Most of the Parshendi were focused on the Alethi army, with only a token reserve force down at the base of the chasm. It was a small enough group that perhaps the bridgemen could contain them. But that was idiocy. There were thousands of Parshendi soldiers blocking Kholin's path to the chasm. And how would the bridgemen set their bridge with no archers to support them? Several of the bridgemen returned quickly from their scavenge. As you see Rock join is staring eastward. This thing is terrible. Could we not do something to help? It would be suicide, Rock. We'd have to run the full assault without the army to support us. Couldn't we just go back a little bit of the way? Wait to see if Kholin could cut his way down to us. If he does, then he could set our bridge. No, if we stayed out of range, Kholin would assume that we're just scouts left by Sadeas. We'll have to charge the chasm, otherwise he'll never come down to meet us. That thought makes you pale. Besides, if we did somehow save those men, they'd talk, and Sadeas would know we're still alive. He'd hunt us down and kill us. By going back, we throw away any chance of freedom.
What if we gain it?
See a lot of the other bridgemen nod, and Kaladin kind of looks over at your comment. You hear mumbling. Dalinar Kholin is probably like the others, like Rashon, like Sadeas, like any of the other light eyes, pretending to be virtuous but corrupt inside. But he has thousands of dark-eyed soldiers with him, men who don't deserve this terrible fight. Men like my old spear crew. We owe them nothing. You hear Kaladin say defiantly, "You got them into this mess, Kholin. I won't let my men die for you." To me, you see a very interesting sight. You see Syl, but not tiny, full-size human, being translucent and blue. Are windspren attracted to the wind, or do they make it? I don't know. Doesn't matter. Perhaps not. You see, I've remembered what kind of spren I am. Is this the time for it, Syl? I bind things, Kaladin. I am honor spren, spirit of oaths, of promises, and of nobility. As you all look out at the battle, you thought that you could hear it raging. You could hear the men dying. You could hear the soldiers running away, scattered, and being left alone. Everyone else fleeing. Khaled kneeling over Dalit's body, his eyes burnt out. I've been here before, you hear Kaladin bellow. Dalinar always fought at the front. What happened last time? I learned. Won't be a fool again. Seemed to crush him. Sadeas's betrayal, his exhaustion, the deaths of so many. He was there again for a moment, kneeling in Amaram's mobile headquarters as he watched the last of his friends slaughtered. Too weak to save them. He raised a trembling hand to his head and felt the brand there, wet with sweat. I owe you nothing, Colin. And all at once, those of you who are connected to Kaladin at some point hear the words of Lirin, his father. Someone has to start, son. Someone has to step forward and do what's right, because it is right. If nobody starts, then others cannot follow. Dalinar had come to help Kaladin's men, attacking those archers and saving Bridge 4. The Light Eyes don't care about life, son. So I must. So we must. So you must. Life before death. I failed so often. I've been knocked to the ground and trod upon. Strength before weakness. That would be death I'd lead my friends to. Journey before destination. Death and what is right. With that, you hear Kaladin say something softly. We have to go back. Storm it, we have to go back. He turns to you all.
Already on the bridge.
You see one after the next nod. Men who had been the dregs of an army just a few months before, men who had once cared for nothing but their own skins, took deep breaths, tossed away thoughts of their own safety and freedom, and nodded. They would follow him. Kaladin looked up and sucked in a deep breath. As Stormlight rushed into him like a wave. He lit up. Bridge up, he commanded. And the bridge went up. With that, we will pick up next session.
The music had some
Uh-oh.
good points.
The music was great tonight.
Yeah.
Playing Assassin's Creed Origins earlier.
Also, I'm pretty sure Doom played at the very beginning, and I was just sitting here having flashbacks. Like,
God.
all I could think of for that couple of moments was just dodge, dodge, grenade, grenade, ice grenade, dodge, dodge, shotgun.
Everybody, go up to a level 5 fighter.
Oh!
Do we actually get to like mess with things?
No actual class shit, just level 5
But
fighter.
like, but do we get to mess with like the? Do we get to mess with the class stuff, but not the subclass stuff, or just?
Just go up to level 5. Don't
Oh,
really bug with anything else.
So the ability score improvement, I don't get to mess with.
Just leave it all be for now.
Cries a little bit on the inside, but that's fine.
I will do that next time.
Yes.
I have to get up for my doctor's appointment in 5 hours.
I mean, Strace is about to make a bunch of subclasses.
I have to be up for work in 4.
Good luck.
You gotta be up
Jesus.
at 7.
Yay.
Go to
Looks like we all
sleep.
got an
I
early
get
All right,
I have to go
guys.
to work immediately after
Bye.
mine.
I
I'm
don't
thrilled.
work tomorrow because I work at 11 p.m. every other night.
Ouch.
Hey, Marshall, I'm gonna say this for probably the 3rd time tonight. Go fuck yourself.
Suck my dick, good sir. I don't have a sleep schedule nor a proper eating schedule. I'm just like everybody else.
Bye, guys.
Good night.
Good night, Fran.
Good night.
Good night.
Night night.
Night.
Good night to all the beautiful friends that are going to bed. I'll stay on for a little bit
What's
longer.
that?
I won't-
Bedtime. Don't know what that is.
What is a bedtime?
What is a bedtime?
Good
Well,
question.
one more session or so, and then end of book 1.
Finally get to listen to the audiobook next session.
Mhm.
I could probably start it now, honestly.
Yeah, it's a big book.
I don't know. I have a lot of time on my hands. We'll see.
Well, the point is, if you get to a place that sounds exactly like what you just heard, don't continue past that.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I'll probably know.
What I'm hearing is Jade does not read this. Got it.
Yeah, you'd blow through it in 2 nights.
I mean, to be fair,
A night
I
if
have
you
a
got
bad
really
habit
hooked.
of just hyperfixating. Once I start something,
She needs to finish it.
gotta consume it.
yeah, it
fast
depends
as
on if you'd be reading or listening.
I think I'm
She'd
such
be
a fast
she would be
reader because
reading.
my mom used to always take my lights anytime that bedtime would hit. She'd be like, all right,
would
she'd
destroy
take the
that.
whole lamp because she knew I would stay awake. So I'd have to just real fast.
Yeah, so Marshall, I think you'll be just fine. The audiobook is 45 hours long.
I think I'll be just fine.
Yo, how do people do audiobooks? Ew, gross.
I need something to listen to in the middle of my nights.
I was about to say, like, I got other shit going on. I can do my reading
I
and do
listen
other
to a
things.
lot
I
of stuff.
cannot listen to an audiobook. That's so
It's
slow.
like listening to my
slow
D&D
pace.
podcasts all over again.
Yeah, but that's why you have something playing in the background as an ambiance, and then you immerse yourself into the story.
I immerse myself into the
Do I
D&D
feel
stories I
losing?
listen to.
I can't focus on multiple things at once. If there's like dialogue and nothing else, I just start sidetracking to something else in my head. Like, oh yeah, well, what was I gonna do yesterday? I totally forgot. And I ignore everything else. I'm like, oh,
I had to explain to my dad what object permanence was the other day.
Hmm.
You know, me, the guy that doesn't have object permanence.
yeah.
That was a fun time.
That spatial awareness is also
We don't have
Same
that
thing,
either. No.
one of us should have it,
one of his,
so we could balance each other out.
So
But I
object
don't think
permanence
either
is
of us have it.
strictly attached to like, hey, I put this down and I like 2 seconds ago. Where did I put?
Yeah.
Where did it go? Like that.
Nope.
That's I don't have object permanence. What was the other one? Sorry,
I think you have more
ADHD
spatial
kicked in.
awareness.
I have very good spatial awareness. Yes.
I have none, which is why I die first. For sure.
This is a very good example of how I was able to wake up so quickly and be like, all right, I know what's happening. I know what's going to go on. Surroundings? Okay. I mean, for like the first 5 minutes still getting out of the house, I didn't... couldn't tell if it was reality or not for a few minutes there, but hey.
Is this real?
I've just been running Terra Raid battles in the background by clicking A over and over, and I've had surprisingly more success than when I pay attention to this game.
Well, I managed to only go about, 15 minutes over my time limit and get exactly where I wanted to. So,
Nice.
Isn't that the best feeling as a DM to actually get where you want to fucking get? By the way, over the next week, I need your help to make a